All right, welcome back to Gooner Pavilion, guys. And the 2025-26 Premier League season is finally here, guys. And Arsenal, because they love to keep our nerves on edge, we're starting away at Old Trafford. No warm-up, no easy games, straight into the fire, guys. But I'm not alone today, so this one is really, really a special one, right? I've got my friend with me and season long, Arsenal season ticket holder, Arsenal fan for years. Ty, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, Eddie, and thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Just a few words about myself. So, this is my very first ever podcast, and I'm glad to say it's on Arsenal, a topic I'm very passionate about. Like you said, I've been an Arsenal fan for several years, so season ticket holder as well since 2019. So, looking forward to this.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ty. And I'm so excited to have you on this. We've been trying to get this thing together for a long time. So we've gone through a lot of hoops, but finally we're here. Finally we're here. So um, let's get into it. Let's get into it because we've got a lot, on our plate to get through today. But I want to start with the summer business because the new season really starts in June, right? And we've had some incomings coming to Arsenal, so the likes of Victor Gyökeres, Mosquera, Noni Madueke, Christian Norgard. Um, Arsenal has been busy. And then, of course, we had a few players that have left the team for various reasons, Jorginho, Tavares, Partey. And there might be a few more outgoings before the transfer window is completely done. But Ty, who's caught your eye, in the transfer business? And looking at the squad right now, are we stronger, weaker, or about the same as we were last season? Where's your head at?
Oh, that's a great question, Eddie. So, I think for me, last season, I know everyone has a different favorite player, but for me, Partey was exceptional. That was
Mm,
probably his absolute best season for
yeah.
Arsenal. Him leaving was a big, for me, it was a big hole in the team. And I think we saw that in the first game against PSG, right, in
Mm,
the finals of last season when he didn't play,
yeah.
how they tore us apart very easily. So for me, the midfield has been a critical place, and I think Zubimendi, the signing of Zubimendi, it's been a long time coming. I think
Mm,
it's something we wanted to do last season before various reasons couldn't.
yeah.
Zubimendi has been, for me, would be the most important signing. But watching the games in the preseason, he has actually proven to be to live up to his name, right? So
Yeah.
he's been amazing. The grit, the determination, the fight to win every tackle, and he does it exceptionally well. I mean, it's incredible. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Partey going forward, but in terms of
Different
breaking
player.
up play, different player, absolutely
Yeah.
breaking up play. I'm delighted that we've signed him. I've
Yes.
not seen that much from Norgard yet. I haven't watched
Mm,
all of our preseason games. But I'm also from the stats he's got, from the winning tackles, from him
yeah.
being captain in a established Premier League team. I think that's another important one. But
Mhm.
of course, we're not going to forget Gyökeres, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. But before that, Mosquera as well, very
Yeah.
young player.
Yeah.
I think he's 21, but he's also played 90 senior. He's appeared 90 times in this
Yeah.
team for Valencia, right?
Yeah. In Spain.
And
Yeah.
he's also played over 6,000 minutes in the last two seasons. So again, watching him, that fight and determination to win the balls.
Yeah.
The defense is critical for us. I think last season we saw that when Gabriel
Gabriel.
was missing, we had
Yeah.
some issues, and 2 or 3 seasons ago we had similar with Saliba missing.
Saliba. Yeah.
So now we've got cover with Mosquera
Got
and
depth. Yeah.
Vivian, so we've got the depth.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. I think if I had to say, are we stronger, weaker, or about the same? I would say we're stronger, and we're stronger because of the depth and the
Yeah.
depth with quality. So Gyökeres is obviously a number 9 that we've not had
Yes.
several
Yes.
years. I mean, yes, we've had Gabriel Jesus, but he's a false number 9
Yeah. Yeah.
any game. So I think I would say we're in a better position.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the optimism in as well when I look at the signings because we've strengthened areas. Mikel Arteta is always gonna get a defender. That's always like a booking every off summer. He's always gonna get a defender. He loves a defender, and defense has been a bedrock for Arsenal. Literally, if you look at the last couple of seasons, we're always top two when it comes to the defense. I
Mhm.
mean, Raya won the Golden Glove. Ramsdale has won the Golden Glove. So defense is always the base that we start off.
Yeah,
And for me, I like what you said about the midfield. The midfield is very important for Arsenal because that's where the creativity happens. And when we don't have that, and it's probably one area that creativity wise, I still feel like we can improve because there's an over reliance on Odegaard in that central position.
absolutely.
Most of the other midfielders are not creative in the sense of Odegaard, and then now we've got one area who could potentially step in there, and he's a dynamic player, as well. But I think that, yeah, you're right. I feel like we're stronger because of depth. I think that last season we suffered. We saw what depth can do to a team.
Yeah,
And I think that it has to be commended that Mikel Arteta still managed to come second with all of that. You look at
absolutely.
all the injuries we had, all the play. And for me, that's a big thing to say because I'm not necessarily an Arteta guy, so to speak, but just for him to recognize that, hey, kudos, to the manager, he's done well. Let me ask you, what do you think about Noni Madueke signing, in terms of the players that have come in?
That's another great question. So again, I know that before he came, we saw a lot of hashtag no to Madueke.
Yeah,
That was very harsh from a
yeah.
lot of Arsenal fans. I can understand where that came from, considering a lot of the previous Chelsea signings that Arsenal have made.
We've given a
Many
lot of
of
money.
them, many of them being flopped. So David Luiz, for example,
Yeah,
great
William.
games, some horrendous games. Petr never quite reached the height
Yeah,
that had at
yeah,
Chelsea. So we've had a lot of I won't say bad, but not great signings from
yeah,
Chelsea, and I could understand why people were saying that. But I think he gives us a lot more variety. I've watched him. He hasn't played that many minutes, obviously, because
mm,
he joined the squad a little bit late. But
yeah.
him in the very recent game, I think it was against
So he
uh,
came off. He came on against Villarreal, and then he got a couple more minutes against Athletic Bilbao.
That's a
I'll let you
Bilbao,
say,
yeah.
yeah.
In that game, I was very impressed because he's a little bit different to Martinelli.
Mm-hmm.
I think Martinelli is one of many players that sort of divides opinion.
Device opinion. We're gonna get into that.
I'm not a great fan of Martinelli. I know a lot of people that think he's an amazing player, but I think he's way too predictable.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, he's going to go down to the byline. A lot of defenders know that. He might win a corner, but that's about it. Recently, we've not scored that many goals from corners. Madueke gives us a very different dimension. He can also whip the ball in because he's left-footed.
Mhm.
So he can whip it into Gyökeres, who is going to be there in the box. He can come in. He's intelligent. I think he's going to be a great signing. But he can also play on the right? He can play as a backup to Saka. So I think it's a great signing. Yeah, let's see. I think time will tell. But for me, another great signing by Arteta.
Yeah, another great signing. I know you've lit that touch right now, so you might as well get into it. Kind of go into the preseason and all of that. So we kind of cover preseason, but I want to unpeel this Martinelli thing because I think we stand on different sides when it comes to Martinelli, and for me, I just look at the other players that people compare Martinelli to who play similar parts of the pitch. You're looking at the likes of players in other teams who play that position, and I look at it and I say, well, actually, Martinelli performs in big games, right? He scored goals against Man City, Liverpool, Real Madrid. So for me, I think that ability to perform in big games is important. Now, you might throw back and say he's not consistent, enough, but I think that. people have forgotten that Martinelli had a really serious injury 2 seasons ago, and he's coming back from that. And so we're not giving him the same grace that we're giving to Odegaard, because Odegaard had an ankle injury, as well, and his form was a little bit iffy. I feel like for where Arsenal need to be, we need players like Martinelli.
Mm.
There are 38 games in the season, right? He's not going to beat all the defenders, every single time, right? But there will be more defenders than not that will not be able to handle Martinelli. I know certainly Liverpool don't know how to handle him, because when we play against Liverpool, he always plays very well.
Mm-hmm.
So people want to get rid of him, but I mean, don't you think that Martinelli still offers a lot to the team, or you like completely, "No, let's get rid of him. I don't want him anymore. He needs
Yeah,
to go."
yeah. Ask me 6 months ago, I'd have said get rid of him.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. He's an asset to the team. His defensive work rate is incredible. Whenever the other team has the ball, he would make sure that our left back is not isolated. He's going to do everything he can to try and win the ball back before they get to the halfway line. I think what frustrates me with him is that his potential, he's got an amazing amount of potential. If you look at
Mm.
3 seasons ago, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think he's scored more goals than he's scored in the last 2 seasons put together.
Yeah. He only scored
Uh,
8 goals last season. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it's that potential, but not quite unlocking it, not quite
Mm.
getting to it. So he's got amazing feet, he's got amazing pace, but he's not beating players enough, right? Um, if you look at Saka on the other wing, again, some people think Saka is overrated. I think obviously he's been one of Arsenal's
We
players.
can agree on that one.
He's
He's
been one of Arsenal's best players for the last
yes,
3 or 4 seasons,
yes.
but also for England as well. I mean,
Yeah.
he's constantly making opponents shiver, right? They're
Mm.
always having to put 2 or 3 players against him. And for me, that is a little bit frustrating as well, because when you've got 2 or 3 players with him, we should have at least 1 or 2 players free, but we're not always finding that free player. And I think
Mm.
that's down to the way Arsenal is playing. We're a little bit slow.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of positional play and
Yes.
full control. And I think he's got that from Guardiola. You can see that Maresca is doing something similar with Chelsea.
Mm.
Whereas a lot of times when you watch Liverpool, on the other hand, right, Liverpool are incredible at counter attack.
Yes.
They're so
Transitions.
effective, the transition, right?
Yeah.
I think we can exploit that a little bit more. So when
Yeah.
Saka gets the ball, if we use the pace to run behind players rather than holding it back, trying to wait for everybody to get into position and then release the ball, sometimes we lose that free man just because of
Mm.
that. I don't know if I would call it. It's a stubborn way of playing, in my
Systemic build
opinion.
up. Yeah.
Exactly right. It's a
Yeah.
systemic build up.
Yeah. I mean, I like what you said there, because when we've looked at the preseason game, I've seen Mikel Arteta trying a few things that normally goes against his systemic approach. Arsenal, always like to build from the back, so they'll build, with 4 and 2s, and then they're gonna hit the channels, usually from the right, get the ball to Saka. But a couple of times in preseason, and I think the last preseason was probably the best example. Every time the ball there was there to switch to Saka, there was a quick switch.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go through the midfield in order to get to the ball to Saka, and that would do a number of things. One, it will allow those players that like to double up on Saka, that would not happen as much. So Saka will get one-on-one occasions. But I think what that does is those switching. What that does is that a lot of players will get dragged into the ball, to come, to either to tackle or to try and win possession. And then when you switch, you know that you're going to outnumber the defense. And what I've also noticed is that, and this is where Gyokeres might make a difference for us, is that he was running a lot into that left-hand channel,
Yep.
last in the last game. So
Mm-hmm.
perhaps we might now start to have a balanced attack where
Exactly.
everything is not just down the right Saka. We could maybe start to have things down the left as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's a very good observation. I noticed that as well. I mean, Gyökeres was a lot more on the left side, joining whether it was Martinelli or Madueke. So
Yeah,
that made it, like you said, it's going to be a lot more balanced.
yeah.
What I also noticed, I don't know if it was just coincidental, was that when Arteta put on Madueke, who is left-footed, he also had a right-footed left back, right?
Mm,
So I think that gives us options, so you can have the overlaps.
yes.
And while Madueke is there to whip it in or cut in, you've also got the right-footed left back that can also cut in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that gives us a lot more options.
Mm,
Then with Gyökeres on the left wing joining the attack, similar to what Odegaard does on the right wing with Saka and the overlaps with Ben White or Timber.
yeah.
Yeah, let's see how it pans out. But I think yeah, I think we're in a very good, very strong position for the first. I mean, for the first time in probably a decade, right? We've had
Mm,
signings that gives us at least two players per position, right?
yes.
And
Yes.
yes, the first team is always going to be the stronger, but we're not significantly weakened when we're
Mm,
making the subs, right?
yeah.
If we
Yeah.
bring in Ben White instead of Timber, they're more or less the same quality.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
obviously different
Yeah. Agreed.
pros and cons, right? But yeah.
Agreed. I mean, I like that actually, and that's a good segue. Talking about the squad, because now I look at that centre back partnership. Now we've got four that can do a job: Saliba, Gabriel, Kivio, and Mosquera. And Mosquera was looking the business. He
Yeah,
was looking the business in the preseason. For a player that age, and you said it, when you were talking about how many games he's played in the Spanish league. That's experience. That's experience. The same kind of experience Saliba had in the way he went out on loan, played all those games, competitive level. He came to Arsenal, slotted in. There was no nerves, there was nothing. He just felt right at home. So I think that's definitely good. Left back side, we've got Calafiori and Miles Lewis Kelly. There. I think Lewis Kelly might edge it, the start of the season because Calafiori still needs to build his fitness, as well. But I'm not mad whoever starts,
yeah.
on that side of the pitch. I think we'll be good. Okay, let's take a step back now because we've looked at Arsenal and went to win the league, which is obviously what we're planning to do or we're aspiring to do. It's not just about what Arsenal does, it's about what all the other teams do as well, especially our rivals. So I wanted us to look a little bit across the pond, look a little bit about, over the fence, see, are there teams that are scaring us? Are there teams that have done business in terms of how they are constructed that we need to be worried about, to be able to land that number one spot? So I want to start with Liverpool because they were the champions, last season. They got the champions, whatever we might think about how that happened. Liverpool won the league by 10 points, as well. So they made a statement in the offseason. They've gone big. Obviously, they've outspent Arsenal, but I know a lot of that's weighted towards Florian Wirtz, who came in for gazillion amount of pounds, right? So you got Florian Wirtz, you got Ekitike, you got Gyökeres. Those are the big splashy signings, and they are potentially going in, for Isak, as well. And I've also heard, rumors about Liao being, rumored to be coming to Anfield, as well. What do you think about Liverpool in terms of what they've done? Should we be worried?
Definitely, definitely my biggest concern for next season. Like you said, Verts, Ekatike, but also Frimpong right on the right wing.
Oh
I think
yeah,
we
Frimpong,
saw
yeah.
maybe a little bit fortuitous goal the other day. But I think their style of play is going to change, right? Because they've also got
Mm,
rid of Diaz, they got rid of Nunes, who didn't play that many games anyway.
yeah.
But if they do get Isak, then we are in big trouble, right? I think any team that has Isak, any of the top four, but if Isak joins them, then I think there's a very good chance that that team is going to win the league.
Mm.
I'm really hoping that somehow Newcastle and Isak find a way for him to stay, or at least delay him joining Liverpool till next
Yeah.
season, right? Because with what they've got. We saw them play. I actually didn't see the game against Crystal Palace, but I heard that the new signings, Frimpong, Ekitike,
Yeah.
were the standout performance
Yes,
in
they
the
were.
team, right?
They were.
The positive we can take is with the way they're playing, with these new signings, it may be that Salah is now no longer the star player, and they're not going to be playing to his strengths. So we might see him play a lot less, or maybe not play a lot less, but score a lot less goals. And you know, the goals now coming in from Ekitike and Verts and all the parts of the midfield like Szoboszlai and whoever else in that team. But yes, you know, I think there is a strong team, absolutely. There is a potential that maybe the defense has weakened significantly. Obviously, Trent was never a great defender, but you know, him coming into the midfield and pinging those balls across the entire pitch. I think they've lost. Who is it? Is it Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa, yes, yeah. Kwanzaa is gone, yeah.
They've only got Van Dijk,
Konate.
And Konate. They're going in for Guehi from
Crystal Palace,
who is a very solid defender, right? So, and also left back, Gyökeres is a very young player, but also I think he whipped in probably second or third in terms of number of crosses. In the Premier League last season. Very dynamic player, very strong as well. So I think they've made some very good signings. I think for me, unfortunate the departure of Jota. But also with Diaz and Nunes leaving, I think they've lost some very big players as well. So that's potentially an opportunity for us to exploit.
Yeah, see, I love a lot of things. And one of the things that you said there is about maybe the regression of Salah, because I mean Salah was on fire, you know, last season. And I hope that that plays to our advantage, right? The balance. So you can look at the squad on paper and say, you know, Liverpool have got a very strong team. They've got a very squad, but will they have their best team on the pitch, you know, at any point in time? Because how are you going to balance, you know, a lot of that? You got Hugo Ekitike that seems to like to play from the right, you know, as well. I know that they've kind of, you know, got him as a striker. He might mostly, you know, take what Darwin Núñez used to do, but it's a different, you know, kind of a striker as well. You've got Gakpo now on the left, you know, so that left-hand side would potentially be his own now. Then you've got the question, if they do Isak, what happens? Isak's not going to want to take a backseat, you know, to Ekitike. You can't spend 70 million, you know, on a player and then spend another, you know, 150 on another player and then not play them. Maybe you can. I mean, Man City have done that in the past, right? And put players on the bench. So, you know, I want to hope that, you know, he's still trying to figure out how to get the best out of his team. And you're right about that defense. And they've conceded a lot of goals in the preseason, even the Community Shield. You can see Van Dijk is not all the way there. He's aging as well. Konate is frequently injured, you know, so I think that's why they're probably going for Mark Gay to come in and strengthen that. But hey, Liverpool, of course, you can't discount them, and we play them very quickly. So I think it would be a good opportunity to size them up very soon in the Premier League. Okay, let's turn our attentions to another one of our rivals. Right, I'm going to leave Manchester United to the last because we've got the preview. But let's look at Manchester City now. You know, they've been very quiet this summer. They've not done any splash signings. You know, Altnori and the rest came in January. I think they're getting rid of McAtee, you know, who I thought might get a chance to play in the team, but, you know, he's leaving. But of course, they still got Haaland, they've got Bernardo Silva, you know, they've got Mamouche, you know, that came in the January transfer window and has done really, really well, you know, for him. Their defense, I think they're getting their players back. Ake, Diaz. Although I'm hearing stories about Edison potentially leaving and Donnarumma coming in, but if you get Donnarumma in, considering what we faced against him in the Champions League, I don't know if that's not strengthening that position.
Yeah, I think that's debatable, to be honest. I mean, just a very quick one on that one, because Man City love to play from the back. They love to lure you in.
Yeah.
Edison is obviously, I won't say one of the best, I would say the best at finding that free player. I
Yes.
think he's got the most assists of any goalkeeper in the last 2 or 3 seasons. I think Donnarumma is a great, shot stopper. Obviously the size of him, but I don't think
Yes.
anywhere near as good as Edison with the feet, right?
Mm.
I think they're
Mm.
going to have to play in a slightly different way. So yeah, if Edison leaves and Donnarumma comes in, yes, they're going to strengthen in certain areas, but I think they're going to get a lot weaker in other areas, particularly playing from the back, and him being that extra 12th player or 11th outfield player, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. I just have post-traumatic stress from trauma from Donnarumma in
From
the
the
Champions League,
Champions League semi-finals.
because
Yeah.
that was just ridiculous. I mean, there were so many times you're thinking that's a goal,
That's
and
going
then
in. No, that's not going in. And somehow it doesn't go in.
and then somehow it doesn't go in, and you're thinking, what's going on? I mean, Phil Foden had a down year, last season. I expect that he would be a bit better. Now that obviously he's not going to be that main man, with De Bruyne, leaving. And I don't know, people haven't really talked about this. I don't know, what that does for Manchester City, because De Bruyne was just, he was immense. Obviously he was injured towards the end. But now you've got the likes of Phil Foden, Doku. We're hearing about Savinho maybe going to Spurs, and stuff like that. That seems like a confirmed. So what do you make of Man City? Do you think, because I have my thoughts, but what do you think about them this season? Do you think they're gonna go back to pre last season?
It's a very funny one. I mean, obviously Guardiola is a serial winner. Last
Mhm.
season was an anomaly. I think they're going to come back.
Okay.
They're going to be as strong as they were the previous 5 seasons. I really don't think so, to be honest. Kevin De Bruyne is probably been one of the best midfielders for the last 7, 8 years, right, in the Premier
Yeah.
League. His departure is going to have significant impact. Yes, Mahmoud has come in. I think they've got Reinders from AC Milan.
Yeah, Reinders, yeah, he's coming
Um,
as well.
they've also got, all those other players you talk about, Cherokee.
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't think they're going to be as strong as they have been in the past.
Mm,
Um, Rodri, I think you mentioned earlier, is potentially still injured.
yeah.
He's not going to start the season. I think everyone saw that as soon as he was off the pitch, they started dropping points.
Mm,
Even when he comes back, he's probably not going to be up to 100% of his
yeah.
performance pre injury. So I think they're genuine contenders. Absolutely, you can never write them off. Even last season, they were potentially not going to make Champions League, but they ended up third, right? So I
Yeah.
think you can never write off Man City. I don't think they're going to win it. If I was going to put money, I was going to put it on either Liverpool or Arsenal.
Mm, okay. Okay. Let's move to Chelsea. Our not London neighbors. Let's not call them rivals, because that might conjure some memories of another team. Uh, but uh, our London neighbors, Chelsea. Chelsea are a bit of an interesting one, right? Because they spent billions and billions of pounds. They've had, like, I don't know, 50 something players in their squad at any point in time. So it's basically any player that has legs and plays football, they want to get that player, right? They've done an overhaul, of the team, and you can almost say that Chelsea now has the players that Enzo Maresca wants, right? Because he came in last season, a lot of the players were not his own. He's been trying to get rid of them as quickly as possible. It's a bit like, Oprah just giving out players anyhow, but they're making lots of money. You got to give them kudos, right? I don't know how they do it, how
Mm.
they keep getting this insane amount of money for their players that they don't want. Someone has to look at that.
Also rejects, right? And they
Yeah,
still get money
exactly.
from it.
Players that they don't want, they're still getting 50, 60 million for those players. It's just absolutely incredible. You got to give them credit for that. But we've seen the likes of João Pedro come in, from Brighton. He's a decent player. It puts doubts to Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson, potentially going to be on their way. Obviously, Delap has come in, who looks decent. I think that he's one for the future and potentially the player that they want to really build their striking unit around. Um, they won the Club World Cup. That gives them confidence. And I've watched them play and they look quite good, as well in preseason. So are they dark horses for you?
Yes, they are. I think the short answer is yes. I think the way they beat PSG in that Club World Cup was astonishing, right?
It was.
Considering what PSG did to Liverpool,
Yes.
what I would say they completely outplayed Liverpool. They didn't
Yeah.
outplay Arsenal.
No, they
We
didn't.
were very solid. We could have won that easily.
Yes.
That tie. Even Aston Villa could have, got something out of PSG, but PSG on a good day are a fantastic team. Chelsea made them look extremely ordinary, right?
Yeah.
The way they did that was they suffocated them. They pressed very high. Um, they're definitely dark horses. They've signed a lot of players. I think this season, this summer alone, they've signed about 9 players.
That's just
But if
crazy.
you look at the age range of those players, most of them are
Mm,
basically between 18 and 21.
that's true.
Two oldest being Delap and Joe Pedro, right? 22 and
Yes.
23.
Yeah.
I think that what Maresca is doing is he's planning for the next 5 years, right?
Mm,
I don't think any of those players, apart from those two that we just mentioned, maybe Gittins as well, is
yeah.
like the place on fire, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I think they've already got the strength they need in Cole Palmer. They've got Caicedo sitting as a number 6,
Mm,
a player that is almost impossible to beat. He's always going to find, beat you on a one-to-one, win that tackle, break up play, and he's very quick at releasing the ball and in the transition. So I think they've got that strength. He's another
yeah.
one of Guardiola's
Okay.
apprentices. So he's
Yeah.
very
From the
style to Arteta
yeah.
in terms of positional play and playing from the back and having possession. But they also have pace, right? So I think it's a solid team. I think they will make top 4. I don't think they're going to win the league.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right about the age of their players. They've signed a really, really young player. This Esteval, the Brazilian, he's 18,
Yeah,
as well. Jamie Giddens, even Hato that's just coming, from the Dutch league, as well as a defender. So, and I think, you're absolutely right, inexperience and maybe what might, be in their favor is that they have nothing to fear, right? They're not scarred by past failures and things like that, and
yeah,
they might just not know what they don't know, right? They go into the season and just play
yeah,
relentlessly. So yeah, Chelsea's one to watch. I
yeah,
probably agree with you in terms of top 4. Okay, Manchester United, we got to talk about them, right? And we're gonna kind of edge into our prediction for Sunday. But Manchester United finished in the bottom half of last season, not just the bottom half of last season. They were handshaking relegation, a lot of time. I mean, obviously, we know that they were not going to get relegated. But Manchester United and Spurs were really fighting for who was going to finish in that, 16, 17 spot, right?
yeah,
Last season. So, but Ruben Amorim, he almost felt it seemed like, well, I don't care how we finished last season. This season is a write-off. We're planning for next season, and they've gone in that same kind of spirit into the summer, just buying players, all over the place, right? You've got Konya, who I always think is a decent player. I like him. I liked him in Wolves. He knows how to get to the goal. Buemo, on that right hand side, whew, he's someone that can score goals as well. Manchester United scored 44 goals or something like that last season, so not enough goals. So they brought those players in. And Benjamin Sesko, of course, he was a nearly Arsenal player, if you believe the reports. So Manchester United have strengthened. Um, Obviously, we're playing them on Sunday. What do you make of that Manchester United squad? Do you think that, with what they've done in the off season, Ruben Amorim can actually make them do a Leicester, literally come from the bottom half of the peak of the table to
With
the
the
top
league.
position? Well, I'm not win the league. I'm not going to go that far, but I mean, to climb like 15, 16, 17 places, to be competing for top four.
Um, I would say that they would likely finish in the top half.
Okay.
I think they're going to go up seven, eight, nine positions. So I think they
Mm.
ended up 16th or
Yeah,
17th.
they were 16th. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they'll be in the top eight, potentially maybe even top six. They've done some amazing signings as well. Like you said, I mean, they really struggled with scoring goals last season with Cunha and Burmo
Yeah,
and Sesko. It's going to be a very, very different season for them, right? They've still got Fernandez, who for me is one of the best creative midfielders in the league. I still prefer Odegaard to him.
of course, of
Many
course, of
reasons, but
course.
including football. But I think Fernandez is an amazing player. So those three players in front of him, it's going to be a very solid attacking
Mm.
threat for any team. Um, I think that obviously, you bring in multiple new players. We have done that, but I don't think all our signings are necessarily first team starters. They're
Yeah.
sort of backup players. These players are going to have to gel. They're going to have to understand Amorim's way of playing. It's going to
Hmm.
take time. Um, I think the good news for them is two of the three of them are Premier League veterans, right? So they've been around for a while. They know what it takes. They've got the physicality. Shesko maybe not played in the Premier League before, but I've watched a few of his highlights when there was talks about Arsenal getting him. I
Yeah.
thought he was an amazing player. I didn't mind whether we went for Sesko or Gyökeres. If I had to choose one, I would have chosen Gyökeres. But I
Okay.
think Sesko is a great player. He's much younger. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game at Old Trafford. We struggle a lot of times. Even last season, when we were far better than them, we only managed to draw. I think we beat them in the 23-24 season. But in the last 10 games at Old Trafford, I think we've only won two or three, and they've won three or four, and the rest have been draws. So typically draws.
Yeah.
On Sunday, if I had to make a prediction, I think we're going to do that later. Yeah, so I'll reserve my prediction until
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I think they're a very solid team. I think they're a very
Mm.
solid team, a lot better than they were last season. I think they're going to end up in the top eight, potentially top six.
Yeah. So apologies to Manchester United fans before you come at us. They actually finished 15th, not 16th.
Right.
That one place means a lot,
It
right?
means a lot, right?
So but yeah, I mean, you're right. Manchester United, a lot of the people that have come in are going to go straight into the first team, right? They're going to have to deliver almost immediately, and they've been smart, going for Premier League players, right? Mbuemo and Cunha that can come in and do the business. I look at Manchester United and I wonder about their midfield. I wonder whether that midfield is as strong as what is required in order for them to, progress. You've got Bruno Fernandes, who's the standout player, in that midfield, top three, top four midfielders in the country, as well. And then you got Mason Mount, who has kind of shown flashes, but he's really not been available, right, for selection, right? And they say sometimes availability is even better than ability, right? If you're not available to play, then what's there. And then you've got Kubi Mainu, who they were going to build literally the midfield around, but he didn't really play last season. Could be a combination of injury. There were things about whether, Amorim didn't really like him and there was potential for him to leave the squad. So I look at the midfield and I think that, that's an area that they might they might struggle with. I fully expect them to have lots of defensive players, against us on Sunday. Right. So you are probably expecting the likes of Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. I expect him to play, as well in that game. Martinez, expecting to play. Dallo, probably expecting to play. I think Robin Amorim has always wanted to play this wing back system.
Mm.
So I think he's gonna have that almost, five, across, with three center backs and then, with wing backs, and then he's just gonna unleash, Mbuemo, Sesko and also Cunha, up front to just go do the damage. And the midfield might be where, Arsenal might win this battle. Because I see United as definitely they can't be as bad as they were last season. But certainly I don't. It's funny though. I do actually think that they could, make it to the top four. And the reason why I say that is because they've got no other competitions to worry about. They don't have Europe to worry about this season. They're just going to worry about the local competitions. And sometimes that adds, a little bit to the advantage of the teams if you've got a good team,
Oh,
because now you're playing one week,
yeah.
one game a week. And then when everyone is doing the Champions League away and playing another away, you can just relax and prepare for the game. So I kind of look at them and think, yeah, they might be sneaky, and that's why I
Who
put
do you think
them.
is going to miss out then on the top four if they made it in?
Well, I think is I look at Newcastle, right? So Newcastle, for me, they're gonna take a step back, no doubt, without Isak. They've got a good team. I think a lot of their players are underrated. Jacob Murphy is underrated. He plays really well. Barnes, as well. They've got this guy Osula, who's been playing for them. I think he's probably gonna be the spine of the attack, because obviously it's no way back for Isak. So I think Newcastle will potentially
Yeah, I
miss
think
out.
Newcastle came fifth last season.
Yeah,
It was Liverpool, Arsenal, City, and Chelsea, right?
City
So
and
I would
Chelsea. Yeah.
say, yeah, I agree with you. I would say that Newcastle would probably drop a little bit. I would agree
Mm,
with you on that. But I think the other four that made top four last season, I can't see anybody getting into that position
yes.
from those four.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. Right. I think about maybe Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
Potentially,
Yeah.
could be the one that the battle really is, Chelsea and Manchester United.
Yeah,
Um,
I
you
agree.
know,
I potentially, if I had to say any one of them, then it would be Chelsea. I think they look solid. They've made some great signings. They've already got
mm,
established with Maresca for a season.
yeah,
They're going to be fighting in multiple competitions this
yeah,
season, like the rest of us. So I think they might have a bit. They've got the depth, that's for sure. But then a lot
yeah,
of the signings, like we said, like quite young, still
yeah.
learning their trade. Not played in the Premier League, so potentially, yeah, Man U definitely have a little bit more experience in that space.
Okay, so big question. How are you feeling about Sunday? How confident are you feeling? You feeling nervous? First game. I don't remember whether we've ever played Old Trafford as the first game, of the season. I don't think so. I might have to do some research to look at that, because that is a cracking opening. And it's not just, Old Trafford, our first six games.
Mm,
They're brutal, right?
mm.
So we start out with Old Trafford. Then we play a home game against Leeds. Then we have an away game against Liverpool. Then we come back and then we play Nottingham Forest. Then we play Manchester City at home. And then we end up going to Newcastle to play. So that's our first six games.
I don't know who decided the fixture list, but they've definitely got something against Arsenal, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
had
yeah.
a
Uh,
starting six fixtures as tough as that, right? So yeah, definitely nervous, but quietly confident.
okay.
Gyökeres he knows Amorim. They've played together for a few
Mm,
years.
Mm.
So does Amarim, right? He knows Gyökeres, so it's gonna be an interesting, definitely gonna be an interesting game.
Yeah.
For some reason, last season included, Man U step it up when they play against Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
Both at the Emirates and at Old Trafford. If I had to guess what the score was, I'm a little bit torn. I think
Okay.
there's a lot more goals than previous draws. I think previous draws tended to be 1-1.
Yeah.
I think with all the signings that both teams have made, I think we're looking at potentially 4 goals,
Okay.
five. So I would say either a 2-2 or a 3-2. And if you had to pin me on one of those, I would go 3-2 to Arsenal.
Okay. So either Desmond or 3-2, but definitely a 3-2. Um, I'm going for a win for Arsenal.
Yeah.
I've already done that in one of my videos, so I'm not gonna back away. I'm gonna stand on business and that, Arsenal are gonna win that first game. In fact, actually, I have put Arsenal down for 5 wins in the first six.
Wow. That's brave.
Yes, I have. I've got it with my full chest. Like, Arsenal are gonna win. I think the only game that we would draw is Manchester City.
Mhm.
I think we'll go to Anfield and we'll beat them.
Okay.
I think we'll beat
I
Newcastle.
love the optimism.
We'll beat Newcastle.
Yeah.
We'll beat Leeds and Nottingham Forest. So I'm gonna go for a 3-0 score to Arsenal.
3-0.
3-0
Wow.
score to
I
Arsenal.
love that. Yeah.
Um, and,
Hope
and
you're
I
right.
and I'm very, I feel very confident about that scoreline. And the reason for my confidence is the fact that, Arsenal have a team that understand what they need to do.
Mm.
There's been additions at the top end part of the pitch, who are going to put the ball in the back of the net. And that has always been what people have been complaining about. We make the chances, but we don't put the chances in. And now
Mm.
we've got someone that can do that, who will
Mm.
potentially terrorize, the defender. Defense has always been a strong point of Mikel Arteta. Defense is solid for Arsenal. So I expect that solidity to be there. We'll build from the defense there. And so I think that, Saka, Martinelli, who I expect to play in that game, and Zubimendi and Rice, I think they've got the makings to go there and score goals. So I'm gonna put it down as 3 goals, for Arsenal. So this might, come back to bite me, but I am very confident, about going to Old Trafford this time around. I
Yeah.
think the game has come one too early for the Manchester United team,
Mhm.
and all the new recruits. So 3-0.
Fantastic. Let's hope you're right. I mean, 3-2 or 3-0 is still 3 points to the Arsenal, but yeah, I'm hoping we can keep a clean sheet.
Yeah,
Uh, Genuinely, I think, despite us being a very solid team defensively, with the attacking prowess they've got now,
yeah,
first game of the season, there's always going to be nerves. It's at Old Trafford. I think there's going to be one or two mistakes from one or two players. So I think, just a little mistake, they capitalize on that and they put the ball in the net. But yeah, like you said, we've got the attacking strength as well. So I think we are going to score at least 2 and hopefully 3 goals. So
yeah. Fantastic, guys. Beat it up in the comments, right? Let's hear what you say, because I know that a lot of you will be like, thinking, well, what's going on? What are these guys talking about? But let's hear what you think. What do you think different? Even if you're not an Arsenal fan, what do you think about that game? But let's wrap it up, Ty. This has been a great conversation, and definitely you're coming back, on the show, because I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation today. And before, we sort of wrap up, to everyone watching and listening, we want your takes. So put your predictions in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as well. And more importantly, share this with a lot of people, right? You can't just enjoy all of this on your own, right? Spread the love, let people know about the channel and the good content here. And if you like this, and you want to see more guests, as well, do drop it in the comments as well, and we'll do our best to make that happen. Might even bring in some rival guests, as well, from other clubs, to spice things up, in some big games. So we're gonna do some big things on the channel as well. But before we go, Ty, any final words before we close the show?
No, thank you very much for the invite, Eddie. Really enjoyed that our conversation over the last hour or so. I'm really looking forward to the season. I genuinely think it's going to be the best Premier League season in the last 2 decades. And the reason I say that is because I think there's going to be a good. I think Arteta said that there was probably 9 contenders for the league. I
Yeah,
think that's being a little bit too generous. I think there's genuinely 4 contenders.
yeah,
It's a long season. It's a
yeah.
marathon. Even the teams that you think are looking at amazing and strong, they tend to drop off after sort of the Easter
True.
period.
Spurs.
I think there's genuinely three. But before we get to Easter, I think there's going to be 6 teams really going for it. That we've talked
Mm,
about the top four, but I think Man U is going to be there as a fifth
yeah,
team. And there's obviously Newcastle, but there was Nottingham Forest, there's Aston Villa, Tottenham have really strengthened. They've got a new manager. They're definitely going to be in the top half as well.
mm,
It's going to be a very good season. Really looking forward to it, but obviously a little bit nervous, but also positive and I think a bit of your optimism as well. And hopefully this can be the season for Arsenal.
yes, yes. Let's leave it there. It's been a great, great conversation. And thank you everyone for joining us. Tune in. We'll be here all season. So always come back for more. Um, come on, you Gunners.
When you're Gunners.